gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's May 18th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we wake you up with the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And man, I don't know if you noticed, but LifeWallet is doing deals with Gators now. I don't quite know what to make of that. But clearly, John Ruiz trying to spread his wings a little bit, spread the wealth around. He's looking to help homeless people in Gainesville, which you have to commend them for. And yeah, the Gator punter and the Gator long snapper are deep into talks with LifeWallet to become LifeWallet athletes. I thought that was kind of cool. But anyway,
I don't get to talk. Okay, go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No talking for Matt.
No, go ahead. No, you're going to do plenty of talking. But
so listen, I think he set aside what I was told, like $10 million, and he's a national company. He's a national brand. He's not just, as much as Miami fans want to think, okay, just Miami, and there are the conspiracy theorists out there who are like, oh, he's going to give money to Gator players so they'll transfer to Miami. Like, that's really not what he's doing. You can think that if you want. He wants to be a national brand. He wants to be somebody who isn't hated around the country because he's only a Miami guy. His goal is to help Miami student athletes, which is great. But his goal also is to promote his company and make it national and not have every other state hate him because they think he's just a Miami Hurricane guy. And you see now he is starting to branch out and give out some other offers and things like that to, monetarily. And yeah, it's part of his every long snapper in the country will get a deal, whatever it is. It's all self-promotion and helping his company. There's nothing wrong with that. And if he helps Miami, great. And if he helps the Gators, not so great. But that's okay. It's his prerogative. It's his money, man.
He's not hurting Miami, and he's giving the punter and long snapper NIL deals in Gainesville.
No, except for the fact that Miami fans might be upset if he starts giving other real players, quote unquote, real players in Florida money. We'll see.
It creates a buzz. It's all good.
That's what he wants. Yeah, and look, you can't blame the guy for trying to help himself out and at the same time helping others. So
yeah, I thought it was interesting. All right. So anyway, the news of the day is actually kind of interesting this morning. So yesterday, I'm just going to be honest and be real with everybody. All right. Yesterday,
never do that. Do not do it.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
Thanks for joining us on CaneSport, everybody. Have a great day.
No, I'm going to be real. Yesterday, I got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get Matt out of my hair. So we figured out. I figured out, like, what could I do to occupy Matt for hours on top of hours on top of hours? So came up with this great idea. And, a lot of, some guys on the message boards on CaneSport.com and stuff have been a little concerned about the pace of commitments this year. And, that Miami is not loading up on early commitments in this recruiting cycle. And so I said to Matt, I said, hey, I got a project for you. I think you should go and research the pace of commitments in every recruiting class, going back as many years as you can, so that we could draw a comparison between the pace of commitments this year in year one under Mario Cristobal and the pace of commitments in all these years back with Manny Diaz, et cetera, Mark Rick, et cetera. So Matt set off to do that. And for about 10 hours, I didn't hear a peep from Matt. Now, this is unusual. I usually, Matt and I usually talk about, 10 times an hour, okay? For 10 hours, didn't hear a peep from Matt Shodell. And it was a good little respite. It was a good vacation for me. But when he emerged from his cave, I guess, or wherever he went to go do this research, honestly, it was pure magic. I gotta give him credit. He came with some powerful research that is in a story that's on the website today where we explore the typical pace of commitments in recruiting, how it worked out for Miami, and how you might interpret it for this recruiting cycle. So with that incredible buildup, and take note, mad compliments to Matt Shodell for this body of work, I'm going to turn the floor over to the man himself to talk about a little bit about, because you still want people to read the story and be able to absorb it themselves. But, give us, your take on what you found out after doing that extensive research yesterday.
All right. So we want to keep it real. That's fine. You wanted numbers on the last 10 years and who was committed and on May 18th of that cycle and who wound up, decommitting and what those numbers look like and how it's been the last couple of years, including this year, obviously, because people are a little freaked out. There's not a lot of numbers. So, Gary asked me to do that. I'm usually up by the pool drinking my, I guess you can't, I'll call it a Mexican mule. You can't say Moscow mule anymore. So he calls me off to do this 10 hours of work. I said, sure, I'll do 10 hours of work. And then I just made up some fake numbers, put a fake story together, and you can see it on the front page today. There's nothing real in there. I just made up some stuff. And then I went back to swimming and hanging out and drinking my mules. No, I'm just kidding. It did take a long time. I don't think it took 10 hours, but it was close to it. And luckily for us.
You pretended it took 10 hours.
No, it did.
I didn't hear from you for 10 hours. Here's me, I was counting every single one of them.
Here's why it's lucky.
2 hours, no Matt. Yes.
Listen, I will tell you.
3 hours, no Matt. Yes.
You and I did talk once yesterday, and we were talking at one point about how it's almost hard to get any breaking news now. A, because if it's recruiting, the kids want to break the news themselves. And B, even if you have a story, another site or source will pick it up and make it their own within 10 minutes. So, and that's okay. That's modern day
reporting. Copy it and they run to Twitter and they pretend like they're experts.
Right. But the reason I say that is because this cannot be duplicated. And the reason it can't be duplicated is I've been doing this for way too long. And I'm so anal that I keep meticulous notes dating back to, I want to say 2002 recruiting, believe it or not. Not just with phone numbers and data points, but also with who committed when and who decommitted when and the dates. So I was able to go back through all my files, and you can imagine this is why it takes 10 hours. You have to go year by year, player by player, looking at who committed, who decommitted, when they decommitted. So I started first just by looking at the Rivals database and going off, because they have the dates in there. Very easy to see. You guys can go look yourselves for commitment dates for the signees.
Don't tell them that. They don't want to do that.
Well, that's easy. The hard part is when you have to go to your files and start finding out all the other names, and it's really interesting. You guys can look at the story this morning, but I mean, it's pretty crazy, man. Some of the years that were, just to give you an example, in the 2020 class, there was 16 players that had committed prior to May 18th of that year that decommitted at some point prior and did not wind up in the class. 16. That's a full class in some years. 2019, it was 11. 2017, it was 12. 2016, it was 12. And interestingly, starting with the 2022 class, there was only 2 that decommitted. And this year, there's been 1 so far that decommitted. That was Andy Jean. But starting in 2022 is really when Manny Diaz had this whole thing. I'm sure he knew the numbers and how crazy it was. And it doesn't help your recruiting when everyone's seeing everyone decommit.
Yep.
So he became very selective, and he stopped going after some of the guys that might decommit. And he started having that rule where if you commit, you can't take visits. And it paid off in terms of the numbers I'm seeing, but I'm not so sure it paid off in terms of what he was going to get if he was the recruiting guy come signing day, which he was not.
Can I just say something real quick? You want to know what else happened in 2022?
Yeah.
And it was put on display in the NFL draft this year as well. I think Manny Diaz realized, like, we're not recruiting good enough players. And if I'm going to keep my job, I better start recruiting some better players. And I think that they tried very hard last year to upgrade the level of athletes that they were recruiting. And that's why there weren't as many early commitments. And, I don't want to say it didn't work out because they didn't really get a chance to finish their recruiting class. But I do think that that's why the numbers were so different in 2022.
Yeah. And something else I want to stress is this is not a snapshot of May 18th, 2020, May 18th, 2018, May 18th, 2016, and what the commitment looked like at that exact time. What I did is I did a snapshot of, okay, these are all the cumulative kids who committed before that date in that class, before May 18th in that class. And I compared that over the last 10 years. And that way you really get a really good picture, an idea of just the breadth, B-R-E-A-D-T-H, the breadth of breadth, as Gary would pronounce it, the breadth of how many commitments there were that were taken that early, whether it was a year before, 2 years before that May, the May date before the next signing day, which we're in now. But for instance, there was 21 already in the class of 2021. That's not that long ago. By May 18th of that signing class, the year before that, May 18th, before that signing day, so the signing day is February, this is the May 18th prior, there was 21 student athletes that had committed before that date. Now, again, there weren't 21 on the list on May 18th of that year, but that's how many had committed, and 13 of them wound up sticking. The year before, there was 23, and only 7 of them wound up sticking. And the reason they stuck more so, in my opinion, in that 2021 class is because that was the COVID year where kids couldn't take visits. That's the James Williams year. And so it's fascinating. I don't want to go through all the data, but you guys can pour through it as you want or don't want to. I don't want to take up too much time.
I think people are going to find it interesting.
It's very interesting. But to try and sum it up, listen, I'll just sum it up this way. So we looked over the 9 years. Obviously, we can't say this year yet because you don't know who's going to wind up decommitting and recommitting or vice versa. But over the 9 prior years before this current cycle, okay, and the reason we did this is because there's so few commits now, people are freaking out. There's 5 current commits on the list, and people are freaking out. So that's why we went about doing this, just to show, well, even though there's more commits in the past, they didn't stick. So what's the difference? So total, on average, how many commits had happened before now in a given year? It was only 7.4 that stuck. 7.4. We're at 5. Maybe they stick, maybe they don't. But there's only 7.4 that had committed prior to this date in a given year over the prior 9 years that stuck. And how many didn't stick that were committed at this point or prior in that given year? 8.4. So there was more student athletes that decommitted before, that were early takes, so to speak, than stuck prior to this May date. And guess what? There's a lot of guys that aren't in that list that were June commits from these camps that were really nobodies. And we're not even including those because we're in May 18th. I'm not going to start just saying, oh, because who knows who Miami will have on their commitment list by a month from now. But, and it's fascinating. And all the decommits, I went ahead and I searched the Rivals database as well to say, were they 2 stars, 3 stars? No, there was 1 no star, 4 stars, 5 stars. Because obviously we know who signed. You can go look at the list. But I think it's important to see the decommits and what they were ranked. And you'll recognize some of the names that are listed. I list every single decommit by year, who they were, and what their Rivals star ranking was. So go ahead and look at that story because it took me 10 hours to write, and it'll take you 4 hours to read. So enjoy it.
And I'll tell you something else. Pay attention to the names and try to do an evaluation of where, what kind of careers they went on to have after displaying that lack of loyalty, integrity, whatever you want to call it, by committing to a school and then flipping to a different school. There's a few of them on there that had decent careers.
I didn't remember Josh Uche was even committed to Miami. There were some recruits where I'm like, he was committed, and he was committed. Yeah,
but you'll see a lot of them didn't turn out to be great players either.
Correct.
And that tells you that the bar was nowhere near high enough at Miami, which you've heard me saying for many, many years. It was very obvious to me. It was a total joke. They were not recruiting good enough players. They weren't trying to recruit good enough players. They weren't out there slugging it out with the kingpins of college football like they are right now. Absolutely are right now. And I don't know where it's going to end, and we'll see where it ends. But they absolutely are competing right now for the best players in the country. And that has not been taking place here for a very long time. And so I'm glad, Matt, that you went through that exercise yesterday. I think it shows a lot. I think people can do a lot with that data. It'll, those that want to dive into it can. And it's just interesting, the different ways of attacking recruiting in terms of taking early commitments that you might not have later. And even the one decommit this year, Matt, Andy Jean, they would take back in 5 seconds. Like they want him, and they are still actively recruiting him.
Yeah, and I listed, there were several players you'll look at. Amon Richards was one. Thaddeus Franklin was one who were early commitments prior to May in that signing class that decommitted before May, that committed before May. I'm sorry, they committed before May and wound up decommitting, but then recommitting back after May. So I put them not with the decommit list, but with the regular list, and I noted it. But yeah, that's not unusual. Like that, Andy Jean could totally come back on board. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
All right, so you guys can check that out. That story's on the website today. We also have a story, an update with quarterback Emry Williams. We've been telling you guys for probably a couple of weeks now that we expect him to be a quarterback in this class, and things seem to be moving closer and closer in that direction. He has set a Miami official visit up for June, but is going to announce his commitment prior to that. We think Miami's in a real good spot going to that announcement, which will come next week. And Emry Williams, we've shown his tape to you on this show. We've broken him down. We've analyzed him quite a bit. And Matt, I think that if you're not going to get Jaden Rashada, which they might not, and you're not going to get Dante Moore, which they may not, I think Emry Williams is a very good take considering the situation that they are in right now, with quarterbacks already in place on the roster. Let's face it. Guys aren't blind. They know Tyler Van Dyke's still sitting there. There's no guarantee he's going to the NFL. He might after this year. If he has a good year, he probably will. But then you got Jake Garcia and Ja'Cory Brown already sitting there in place. And it's not an easy path for a young quarterback coming in. And, I love the tape on Emry Williams. Well, I'm showing it right now. And, I think that this is a very good quarterback take. And I would not sell him short in the future in competition with Jake Garcia and Ja'Cory Brown.
Yeah, I think, he is also taking visits to Indiana, USF, and Pittsburgh. I think probably Indiana is the only other real school in it right now, I think. But they have Emery's dad did mention to me there are some other schools that could come into his picture, and this is recruiting, right? It's not commit and that's the end of my process for a lot of these kids. And if he winds up blowing up this coming year and getting a bunch more offers, which is very possible, it wouldn't shock me if he winds up being somebody who Miami fans have to think twice about. I know Miami fans right now are saying
Emry Williams is going to commit and then be on your decommit list.
Well, I'm not going on my DNR quite yet, but I will say, just talking to his dad, Miami needs a quarterback. Miami wants him. And he knows that Miami is still looking at quarterbacks. They're going to be evaluating other quarterbacks unless he commits. I mean, they were very forthright and transparent with him. They made it very clear. And from his perspective right now, he doesn't have those major offers. He may not get those major offers. So what would you do, Gary, in that situation? You would take the spot. It's the best option. You had a great time at Miami. You really bonded with Coach Ponce. Why wouldn't you commit? They want to know. This is the thing. We've said they're not really pushing for commitments. Well, with Emry Williams, they are. Because they need one quarterback, and they've been trying to get a bunch of guys, and nothing seems to be working out. And he's the next best guy on the list, and they want him.
Yeah, and they can't wait on him. Correct. I agree.
So they need to know. They need to know. But the problem here is talking to the dad. Like there are some SEC schools very interested, and I think that if certain SEC schools offered, whether it's in a month or 2 months or 3 months or whatever, this could become a little bit of a battle. Like you saw with Jake Garcia, these things aren't always set in stone for a school. You might think that this is it, and it may not be. And I'm sure Miami's not going to, on their end, be like, okay, we don't have to recruit any more quarterbacks. Just like for Emry, it's going to be, I should still weigh my options because it's his life. It's what's best for him. And fans have to understand that. This is why sometimes early commitments don't work out. It's other offers come in. Sometimes there's a school somebody's waiting on, whether it's an Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever, and they're not offering. And the school that's number 2 or number 3 on your list has one more spot. You're going to take that spot. That's what's best for you as an individual. And this is what makes recruiting so crazy. And now with NIL making it even crazier, there's nobody safe on any commitment list anymore, whether it's at Miami or anywhere else. Because an NIL deal could come the day before signing day. You get promised by some booster, hey, come here and here's what you got from me, And not that you can't sign anything, But you trust a booster, whatever. So listen, if Emry Williams commits, I got no problem with that. I know some fans think he's, not as good as Miami could have got. I got no problem with Emry Williams. Miami's got such a good quarterback room. He's already said he'll probably redshirt his first year. They told him that straight up.
Oh, he's definitely redshirting his first year.
Yeah, but the fact is they told him that straight up, which is great. He can develop into a really, really good passing quarterback, not a running quarterback, not a dual threat quarterback, just a guy who can drop back and throw bombs and throw, hit guys right in stride and all that stuff. That may not be the modern style of quarterback for some, but like that's good enough for me, especially with the quarterback room they have right now with Jake Garcia and Ja'Cory Brown, because you take him this cycle, and then next cycle, maybe there's a 2024 quarterback who's a 5-star, and now they didn't sign a 4-star this class. You could say to that kid, listen, we have this kid redshirting this year. We're not sure he's going to be so great. Why don't you come in and you can compete to start by your second year, if not your first year, to be a starter, depending.
I think if they're taking Emry Williams, it's because they like him. I mean,
of course. But my point is,
I think he's the number 3 quarterback on their board right now, behind Dante Moore and Jaden Rashada, who are universally considered among the top 5 quarterbacks in the country. I think Emry Williams is right there. Now he gets to come to school at Miami. He gets to take a year and learn. He then competes with Jake Garcia and Ja'Cory Brown. If at that point he's number 3 on the list at that point, then he can always explore his options.
Listen, it doesn't matter. Like fans who think, oh, we can't miss a quarterback, it doesn't matter, man. How many transfer quarterbacks go to Pittsburgh this year? Or, you can go down the list. Like, it doesn't matter anymore if you have a miss in recruiting a quarterback, because in a way it can even help you get a transfer, because, hey, we got nobody, man. Come on in. You're the starter. Instead of, hey, we got a pretty good guy. We're not sure he's going to be the guy. Can you come in and compete? Like, that didn't work out so well with the USC kicker, right? So who would have come here, by the way, if there wasn't a guy named Borregales on the roster who we would have had to compete with. So, look, it works both ways. I've got no problem with taking him. I think he can be great, but he's going to be a little bit of a project. Yes. Is he the top-rated guy I've ever seen out there? No.
It's a good plan. I like the plan. Redshirt this year. Let him compete. When Tyler Van Dyke leaves, let him compete and see where he stacks up to the other guys at that point. And if it's not good enough, then he always has the option of transferring at that point. So I think it's all good for everybody. It's a great opportunity.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not such a big deal anymore in today's day and age. It's not a big deal. You don't have to.
And it's a good opportunity for him. It's a very good opportunity. All right, we've got a couple more things we're going to talk about before we let everybody walk into their office. But first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Hey, Morgan, what are you going to do?
I have to go to practice.
Me too.
Well, don't forget your Life Wallet.
Oh my gosh, I always forget my Life Wallet.
You forget everything.
I can't go anywhere without my Life Wallet.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right, so as usual, we have a few other recruiting updates for you guys. This morning, we catch up with offensive lineman Paul Mubenga from Buford, Georgia. He added a Cane offer during the spring evaluation period. Now has 46 offers, okay? The Canes are pushing hard, trying to get him to official visit. We give you an update on him this morning on the website. And we also check in with 4-star 2024 athlete, a guy that could play multiple positions on offense and defense by the name of Jaden Baugh. He's from Decatur, Georgia. Landed a Cane offer this month. Plans to visit UM in June. You can find out where Miami fits in with this highly talented Georgia prospect. So that gives you enough to chew on, I think, as you go forward.
What about my daily DNR?
Go ahead.
You don't my daily negative rant? You don't want it?
Do it.
Listen, there was
there's one guy that posted on the comments yesterday that he mutes everything when you go on your rant. So I can't remember what your name was, but we'll give you 2 seconds to mute your sound.
Yeah.
1, 2. Go ahead, Matt.
Listen, this is for that poster because I know he doesn't mute anything. So now he doesn't understand. He thinks he muted me, but he didn't. All right. Anyway, the DNR.
There you go. I got a rant. Can I rant for 1 second?
Yours is always positive.
Hey,
but
last night, now let me rant. Let me rant for a second because I'm mad about this. Last night, and I'm a big sports fan. I've grown up in South Florida. I don't just love the Canes. I love the Dolphins, Heat, Panthers. I love everything, everybody. Okay. So last night I'm sitting there, and due to the absolute, I don't know whether to call it arrogance, incompetence, whatever, of the National Hockey League, I'm sitting there trying to watch 2 damn playoff games at the same time in my house. And I've got 2 kids who are pissed as hell at me because they wanted me to take them to the playoff game. And I'm like, I got to watch these games. I can't go to one game and forget the other. And I don't want to watch it on delay. So I decide I'm not going to go to the actual game. So my kids are angry at me now. And I'm sitting there trying to watch 2 playoff games at the same time because the stupid National Hockey League couldn't get their schedule act together. Listen, the NBA came out first with the schedule. They had the Heat at home on Tuesday and Thursday. You don't put the Panthers at home on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm sorry. Shame on you, NHL. Shame on you. Good.
Well, that's an SNR.
Did I do your rant?
No, that's an SNR. That was a stupid negative rant because I have 2 TVs, one on the deck that I can point towards the living room, and one right in front of me at the living room. You just swivel your head a little bit. And
I don't have your budget for electronics. Okay, I have 1 TV.
Listen, that's your problem.
I'm sitting there trying to go back and forth and watch these damn games. What a joke! What a joke, NHL.
How does any sports reporter not have multiple TVs to watch at the same time? I mean, that's like a must.
I can't afford 2 TVs.
Yeah, right. All right, so here's my DNR, and it's about Nathaniel Joseph. And I didn't really do a DNR about him previously. I didn't mention him previously, but
don't get him angry because I still I think at the end of the day that there's a good chance he's going to be a Hurricane.
Okay.
Don't get him upset.
Can I get on my DNR, please?
Don't get him upset.
The poor kid is scared to death to even be spotted on Miami's campus, okay? I swear to God, I'm not going to out him or anything about visiting, but I swear to God, if he was on Miami's campus, I think he would wear a disguise. Mm-hmm. That's how freaked out he is. And it's not right, man. Somebody should tell, I don't want to say his name, he's like he who can't be named anymore, the coach over at Clemson, because it's ridiculous. To tell a Miami kid, recruit, student athlete, whatever you want to call him, that he can't visit his hometown school and just hang out and have a good time, and you committed to us. And
if you were them and you could get away with that, wouldn't you do it?
They can't get away with that. Okay,
they're getting away with it.
The poor kid's been on campus. He's had to sneak on campus with his team. They're allowed to go with their team or with their 7-on-7. I don't know. It's almost like he has to. You know how you find loopholes in your tax system? Like the poor kid, if he wants to go on campus, he has to say, "Hey, coach, can we have an official event so I can go visit campus? Because Clemson won't let me go otherwise." So he has to make it a real visit. What, am I talking too loud? So anyway, he's going to go to Clemson the first weekend in June, officially. When I've been told, if that goes well, that's it. He's not going to be allowed back on Miami's campus. Clemson's actually going to put a new lock on his door from the inside, and he will only be allowed out with an ankle monitor, apparently, because that's all they're going to let these kids do. It's ridiculous, okay?
Clemson will be sweating if it does. I don't know when things could change or whatever, but Clemson will be sweating.
If that visit,
they will sweat this one out till the last second. Trust me.
If
you're them, I would throw all the muscle around that I can, and if I can get the kid to not go to Miami, because I know that if he goes to Miami, he's going to flip from Clemson.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. So from what I've heard is if that visit does not go well, he will immediately flip to Miami the next week. So that's that's huge. That first week of June, we're probably going to have a pretty good idea what's going to happen with one of the top recruits in South Florida who Manny Diaz never bothered to recruit. I'm not going to do a DNR on that because my head will explode.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. This kid is an elite wide receiver. Right there with Robbie Washington. I think Robbie Washington and Nathaniel Joseph are the 2, and Jaylen Brown too, in a different way, are the creme de la creme of these receivers. With all respect to Brandon Innes, he's very, very good. Obviously, he's gotten a lot of publicity because of his rankings, but you're not getting all of these guys, as well as Emry Williams and Andy Jean, and you're not getting 6. There's 6 or 7 of these great receivers down here. You're not getting all of them. If you get 3 of them, it's a grand slam home run. I want Nathaniel Joseph. If I'm Miami, I think that they are going to exhaust everything they can to get him. And if I'm Mario Cristobal on the staff right now, my mission is that he never gets on the plane to go to Clemson in June. We'll see what happens.
That's the same. Listen, that's ridiculous. That's the same thing that I'm saying Clemson shouldn't do. Miami should be like, if Miami's smart, which they are.
Oh, Miami, they'll slug it out. But
Nathaniel, visit everywhere you want. Like, we want you to have fun. This is your process. This is like, nobody should be telling you can't do something. The last thing Miami should be doing is saying, don't get on the plane to Clemson. Like, that's playing into Clemson's hands, man. No, they should be like, it's your process. You take as much time as you want. You know, you go on every visit. You have all the lobster and steak and whatever else they do on these visits. Have a great time. Don't let anyone dictate to you what you can and can't do, man. This is
new
your
world
future.
now, Matt. You want to know why?
Say it again?
NIL.
Oh.
It's a new world, man.
Yeah.
The new world. So yeah, I don't want if I'm Miami, I don't want Nathaniel Joseph getting on that plane.
You know what's funny is NIL is so it's the bags used to be real, but everyone thought they were imaginary sometimes. But the NIL deals for these kids are imaginary, but people think they're real. They can't. Boosters, nobody else in the world can sign a high school prospect to even a $1 deal right now. They'll be ineligible to play at that college.
Yeah, and everyone's running.
I could promise Nathaniel Joseph tomorrow, Nathaniel, come to Miami. I'll give you $1 billion. I'll give you $1 billion, Nathaniel. A booster could say that. It's about as truthful as anything else because you can't sign anybody. All you can do is make a promise. And what's he going to do? Go to wherever school and then, oh, sorry, man, I ran out of money. Like, he's going to transfer. Like, if it doesn't work out, they transfer anyway. This whole system is so stupid now. That'll be my DNR tomorrow. I can't do 2 different DNRs. I have enough.
Yeah, no, please, not 2 in one day.
I'm on 5 of Rosavastin. I don't want to have to go to 10, so I'm done. That's it. No more DNR for me.
But I think people are running scared around the country a little bit right now because all the hullabaloo that came up last week about all this.
Do you say hullabaloo? Do you want people to think you're an old person, Gary? Don't say hullabaloo. You're not an old person.
All right, all the fussing that was going on about NIL and boosters.
I mean, what are you
and
crying out loud
last week and how the NCAA is investigating and all that stuff. I think people are running a little scared right now. So I think it's like kind of slowed down a little bit, but they'll find a way to pick it up again. All right, that's going to do it for today. For Good Morning CaneSport, we thank everybody for starting your day with us. As always, hope you have a great day, whether you're going to work or hanging out at the pool like Matt, going to the beach, whatever you're doing today. Hope it's awesome. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.